Being unequally yoked could lead to the destruction of your kingdom. You're sacrificing your mind. So don't do it. Don't do it. Welcome to the Heart Helper Podcast, a spiritual space where we share extraordinary stories from everyday, ordinary people because we truly believe that inspiration is far greater than influence. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Heart Helper Podcast. We are on episode 33. And gosh, what a journey it has been. Like just listening to episode 1 to listening to where we are now. We've come such a long way. But today it's me by myself. And a lot of you guys have said that you enjoy listening to me talk. So I don't know if I have a radio voice, podcast voice, but I hope you enjoy. And I'm so thankful for our listeners. We're so thankful for our subscribers. And we just hope that we are spreading more light, spreading more love, spreading more kindness, but most of all, spreading God's word and spreading God's goodness. So today on episode 33, I want to talk about domestic violence. And I also want to do a Bible discovery. So we could talk about what it means to, for one, be unequally yoked with a partner romantically, also with a partner in friendship, with partners at work. And I also want to talk about just staying away from people that are not emotionally stable, as well as emotionally intelligent, people that are always quarreling, and the Bible references a lot of things that pertain to this. So I want to talk about that, show you guys where it is in the Bible, do our Bible discovery, but really just give you guys some insight. So about 3 years ago, I decided to move to Atlanta. A company sought me out. They're like, hey, we need someone in management to live in Atlanta. And I'm like, okay, great. I've always wanted to live in Atlanta. Literally, a door was open that I didn't have to knock on. So as I was starting a new chapter in my life, as soon as I landed in Atlanta, my cousin Jevaun Mulai ended his last chapter in life. I mean, I was driving down with my dad. I was driving my car. My dad was driving the U-Haul. And I mean, you know, when you're moving to a new city, you're starting a new chapter, you're so excited. You're like, oh my gosh, like what's it going to be like here? What's the job going to be like? Who am I going to meet? Just, I'm thinking on those things. As soon as I step foot on Georgia soil, my sister calls me. She's like, hey, have you guys stopped driving yet? I'm like, yeah, we made it. And I'm really thinking everyone keeps calling me, just checking on me because they're also excited about this new chapter in my life. They're also excited about my new move. And, you know, they're calling me like, okay, well, just checking in. Call us when you get there. So finally, when I do get here, I talked to my sister. She was like, hey, are you sitting down? I'm like, yeah, what's going on? She was like, Jevaun passed away. And I have a home in Jacksonville. Literally saw my cousin maybe 3 days before we were out, saw him at a club, hugged him like, hey, he was supposed to be renting out my home that I have in Jacksonville. I'm like, hey, getting the house together for you, getting it cleaned. When I left, y'all, I left the key to my home under my mat for my cousin. When I left my home, I said, hey, letting you know the key's under the mat. Go ahead and head there whenever you get a chance. My cousin never had the opportunity to move into my home because someone murdered him before he could even do so. So like I said, the day I'm starting a new chapter was the day he ended his life. That was his last chapter. And I never really talked about this in detail. It was like, you know, what was supposed to be like the best chapter in my life literally started off as one of the worst chapters in my life. So I couldn't focus on the move and great things happening, this new job. Oh my gosh, I'm in this new city. How great is it going to be? My new chapter literally started with depression. It started with sadness. It started with anxiety because my cousin was murdered. My cousin was murdered by someone that he used to date. And I think this episode's so important because we don't talk about domestic violence against men. I had met the young lady that murdered my cousin maybe a year before. And I could already see she was emotionally unstable. We're at a celebration for one of our other cousins' wedding, very emotionally unstable, arguing, cussing. Just, I don't know what had transpired between them, but just being very disruptive at a wedding. And I want to say that a lot of times we see our loved ones with people that are emotionally unstable. We see our loved ones being abused. We see our loved ones in toxic relationships, and we'll say something, but we don't say enough. We don't say enough. Even that day when I met her at this wedding, I was going back and forth with her. And if you guys know me, I never do that. So there was an energy on this young lady that I think caused her to be very challenged, to say the least. But, we said something then, but we don't follow back up like, hey, cuz, or hey, friend, let's talk. Like, is that relationship for you? Do you want to stay in that space? Do you really think he's the one or she's the one? We don't say enough. We do not say enough. And my cousin had been abused from this young lady prior. She had stabbed him prior to stabbing him the second time, which was fatal. And we don't talk about men being abused. And men don't talk about being abused. They laugh it off like, man, she crazy. Okay, do you want to be with someone that's crazy? Because we laugh about it. It's all fun and games until your life is taken from you, until your family is standing over your casket, until someone is getting sentenced to 20 years in prison, which is what she got. That young lady was 21 years old when she killed my cousin. She's been in jail for 3 years. Yesterday, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison. 20 years. And that's why I said today I wanted to talk about this, because this just happened yesterday. And, when your loved one is murdered, of course, it's sad. You bury your loved one, but then you still have to go through the grieving process. You still have to go to court. You still have to go to trial, reliving everything yet again. The lawyers telling us the details, how she, literally trespassed, jumped over a gate to go and harm him. And it's all fun and games until your family is sitting in a courtroom hearing what happened to you. It's all fun and games until your loved one gets sentenced to 20 years. I'm sure her family saw her behavior, saw her toxic patterns, and they might have thought it was funny, or they might have thought maybe she'll get help, or they might have thought, oh, maybe she's just young. But like the judge said yesterday, he's like, I have no doubt this was the worst day of your life. This was a very bad day for you. And we all have bad days. Every single one of us have bad days in life. But he's like, unfortunately for you, your bad day took someone else's life, and this is a consequence. 20 years is your punishment. And who knows, maybe she'll get out and be this great person like she claims that she's going to come out and be. And I wish that for her. I hope that for her. I hope she finds God while she's in there. I desperately hope that God literally finds her and changes her. And I hope her heart is softened. And I really do hope that she finds peace in her mind and peace in her heart, because I couldn't imagine what she's going through knowing that she did this to someone. My cousin left behind a young son that will never know his father. So a lot of times we think it's funny. We think it's, the person's just crazy, or, man, they just love me a lot. That's not love. It's not love. At the first sign when someone shows you that they're emotionally unstable, run. Don't walk, run. Because anyone that cannot control their emotions, they can't control their life. And those are dangerous people to be around. And I have no doubt this was obviously the worst day of her life. She made a mistake, allegedly, and this turned out to be the worst day of her life. And it was the worst day for my family to have to experience that. And we have to grieve and we have to mourn. And when I found out that she was sentenced to 20 years, I was actually on a Zoom call, so I was listening to it in the car. And of course I started crying, but all I could do was just throw my hands up and I said, God, I thank you. God, I praise you. God, I worship you. Because in those moments, it's so easy to allow the enemy to steal your joy. And to want to be sad about it, to want to be angry, to want to not like her. Even when I heard her best friend, like, oh, she's a good person. I've known her since fifth grade. She would never do something like this. We all say that about the people that we care about. And I have no doubt she's shown them good character traits, but we happen to see, thank you, we happen to see the worst character traits of her. And that one night ruined her life. And essentially, it, really hindered my family's life. So if you are going through domestic violence, please don't take it lightly. You do not want your family to cry over you. You don't want your family to cry for you. You don't want to leave your children behind. Pack up your things and leave today. It's not worth it. And it's not love. It's not love. Love does not control. Love does not try to possess you. Love is supposed to be an experience. It's not a possession. And when people show you those traits, run from it. God shows us the signs. Have enough discernment to know, this is not love. And when you really get to know God and experience God, you know what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not try to harm you. Love does not try to harm you. And if you are someone that is not emotionally stable, you're always going off, you're always cursing people out, you're hitting people, you're flipping tables, you're going off on people at work, you're going off on your friends, you're going off on your boyfriend, you're keying cars, you don't know how to control your temper, get help before it gets too far. Emotionally unstable people are dangerous to be around. They're destructive and they're dangerous. So I wanted to start with that, and don't want to get all emotional, but it's serious. And I do want to be straight up about it. And I don't want to be aggressive about it. Like, hey, get help, leave. But it's the facts. Leave. So many people are murdered by someone that they care about. They call it intimate partner violence. Many people are killed by a partner that they love and that they think loves them. Love is not supposed to hurt. It's okay to be single. Someone at church last night said, keep running towards God, and the person that you're meant to be with will be running towards God as well. And if that person is not running towards God with you, you don't need to introduce yourself to them, period. And being unequally yoked with someone is very, very dangerous. You might be a calm person, but if you notice that they're ill-tempered, it's dangerous to be unequally yoked. It's dangerous to be unequally yoked in romantic relationships. It's dangerous to be unequally yoked in friendships. It's dangerous to be unequally yoked at work. If you're up here, I've said this numerous times on my podcast, if you're in the sky and you are constantly around people that are in the dirt, you're trying to bring people to life with people that are okay living in death. Stop trying to bring people up to where you are. You can't be equally yoked with everybody. Find people that think like you or think greater than you. Find people that are becoming, people that are wanting to do more, wanting to know God more, wanting to become more. Being unequally yoked is dangerous because either they're going to bring you back to where they are or they're going to kill you. There's no in between, y'all. And it's I want to talk about it because it's that serious. Get out of those unequally yoked friendships. You know that girl always is cussing you out. She's cussed your mom out, doesn't like your kids, barely likes you. Why are you there? Love yourself enough to leave. Love yourself enough to leave. And if you don't have the courage to love yourself enough, love your family enough to leave. Think about that one person in your family that you love and think about them mourning you. Do you want that for them? Do you want your mom to have to bury you? And if you're a person that can't manage your emotions, are you tired of hurting people? It's a lot of weight to carry anger. It's a lot of weight to carry hatred. It's a lot of weight to carry unforgiveness. It's too heavy. It's too heavy. Lay the bags down. It's too heavy, y'all. It's too heavy. So, according to breakthecycle.org, more than 16 million people in the U.S. suffer from intimate partner abuse per year. Every minute, 32 people experience intimate partner violence in the United States. Nearly 1 in 2 women and more than 2 in 5 men reported experiencing intimate partner violence at some point in their life. That's a lot. That's a lot. 1 in 2 women and 2 in 5 men. And I specifically wanted to talk about my cousin Jevaun today because men don't talk about abuse. They kind of roll. Men don't talk about a lot. Men don't talk about a lot. But we have to do better for one another. And we have to tell our friends the truth. We have to tell our family the truth. If you see a toxic relationship, even if they stop talking to you, that's fine. That's literally fine if you never talk to me again. But at least I know I told you, hey, that girl don't seem like she's the one. That guy doesn't seem like he's the one. That friendship, that doesn't seem like it's the one. Tell people. Don't be scared to tell people. Stand in truth rather than to live in a lie, because you could save someone's life. And let's get into this Bible discovery, because the Bible does reference a lot with being around people that are quarrelsome, people that are troublesome. So in Proverbs 21:19, it says, "It's better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and ill-tempered wife." In Proverbs 19:13, it says, "A quarrelsome wife is like constant dripping." So let's break those Bible verses down. In Proverbs 21:19, when it says it's better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and ill-tempered wife. It's better to literally die of thirst rather than be around someone that is quarrelsome. There's no peace in a home that's quarrelsome. There's no peace in a relationship that's toxic, that's argumentative, that's in constant fighting. There's no peace there. In Proverbs 19:13, a quarrelsome wife is like dripping water. Have you ever been trying to sleep at night? I mean, you're really at that sweet spot. You're about to fall asleep, and then you notice that water's dripping from the pipe. Then it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get up out of bed and turn the pipe off. It's annoying. It's annoying. And no one deserves to have to deal with someone that's quarrelsome. The word references, hey, it's better for you to be alone in the desert rather than be around someone that's quarrelsome. I don't care if you think your partner is the ocean. I don't care if you think your partner is the only water on earth. It is better for you to be alone in the desert rather than be around someone that's quarrelsome. The word says it. Literally, rules for living. When I read Proverbs, which is one of my favorite books, literally all of the rules for living is in Proverbs. How to raise your children, how to be a good friend, how to be a good neighbor, even how to be a good spouse. If your significant other is quarrelsome, it is literally better for you to be alone. We already live in a world of war, right? When we go to work, we're at war. Especially for men, Black men, you go out in this world, it's war. Women, you go out to work, it's war. We're paid less, we're treated less. It's already war in the world. That's why in the word it says we are supposed to be in the world, not of it, because the world is war. So why would you live in a world of war and then go home to war? Think about it. You want to live in war all your life, all your human experience? It's not worth it. And if that person is not willing to change, if they want to continue to be quarrelsome, you're doing yourself a disservice staying in that relationship, because you're unequally yoked and all that person is going to do is bring you down. Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. When you're in a toxic relationship with someone that's quarrelsome, when they go low, they're going to bring you to hell. They're going to bring you to hell. And that unequally yoked relationship could be the death of you. And please use my cousin as an example. It could be the death of you. It's nothing to laugh about. It's nothing to be funny. It's nothing to joke about. People are going low, and then here you go, going to hell right with them, matching their energy every time. Oh, I match energy. Okay, keep matching energy, and you're going to lose your life. You're going to lose your peace. You're going to lose your sanity. You're going to lose friendships with people that love you because they're tired of you being in that toxic relationship. They're tired of you complaining about something that you keep running back to. They're tired of hearing the stories. They're tired. I've had friends like, hey, every day we talk, they're going through the same thing. They're staying in the same relationships. I'm tired for you. And at this point, if you're not going to do the work that you need to do to leave it, I don't want to hear about it anymore. Because I keep giving you advice. I keep, interceding for you with prayer. And at this point, that's all I could do is pray for you. So keep going low. I'm telling you, you're going to bury yourself. You're going to bury yourself. And I hope that this podcast episode is a wake-up call for you. You're going to bury yourself. So next, let's get into my girl, Abigail. So a lot in the Bible, I always grew up hearing about Ruth. You hear about Esther. You hear about Mary. You hear about Deborah. But Abigail is a unsung hero in the Bible. And we learn about Abigail in the book of 1 Samuel. So to give you guys some insight, Abigail was married to a man by the name of Nabal. Is it Nabal or Nabal? Nabal. You know, some of these names in the Bible, y'all, are very hard to pronounce. But so Abigail was married to Nabal. He was a wealthy man, but her husband was very ignorant. He was very ill-tempered. He was very arrogant. And essentially, they were unequally yoked. Very unequally yoked. Abigail in the Bible is described as intelligent and beautiful, and is considered she's considered an unsung hero in the Bible. A lot of people don't talk about Abigail, but we definitely should be. And I'm going to read it for you guys, and you guys will see why. She's an example of humility and grace, and her story is said to prefigure the life of Jesus. So let's start with reading that. Let me get into my Bible app. So again, we're going to learn about Abigail in 1 Samuel chapter 25. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start with verse 1. So now Samuel died, and all Israel assembled and mourned for him. And they buried him at his home in Ramah. Then David moved down into the desert of Paran. A certain man in Moab, who had property there at Carmel, was very wealthy. He had 1,000 goats and 3,000 sheep, which he was sharing in Carmel. His name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. She was an intelligent and beautiful woman, but her husband was surly and mean in his dealings. When David was in the wilderness, he heard that Nabal was sharing sheep. So he sent 10 young men and said to them, "Go up to Nabal at Carmel and greet him in my name. Say to him, 'Long life to you, good health to you and to your household, and good health to all that is yours.' Now I hear that it is sheep shearing time. When your shepherds were with us, we did not mistreat them. And the whole time they were at Carmel, nothing of theirs was missing. Ask your own servants, and they will tell you. Therefore, be favorable toward my men. Since we come at a festive time, please give your servants and your son David whatever you could find for them." When David's men arrived, they gave Nabal this message in David's name. Then they waited. Nabal answered David's servants, "Who is David? Who is the son of Jesse? Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Why should I take my bread and water and the meat I have slaughtered for my sharers and give it to men coming from who knows where?" David's men turned around and went back. When they arrived, they reported every word. David said to his men, "Each of you strap on your sword." So they did. And David strapped on his as well. About 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. One of the servants told Abigail, Nabal's wife, David sent messengers from the wilderness to give our master his greetings, but he hurled insults at them. Yet these men were very good to us. They did not mistreat us, and the whole time they were out in the fields, near them, nothing was missing. Night and day, there were a wall around us the whole time we were herding our sheep near them. Now think it over and see what you can do, because the disaster is hanging over our master and his whole household. He is such a wicked man that no one could talk to him. This is the main part I want y'all to get. In 1 Samuel chapter 25, verse 18. Abigail acted quickly. She took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 dressed sheep, 5 seahs of roasted grain, and seahs, S-E-A-H-S, is like a measurement, amounts of grain, 100 cakes of raisin, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on donkeys. Then told her servants, go ahead and I'll follow. But she did not tell her husband, Nabal. As she came riding her donkey into a mountain ravine, there were David and his men descending towards her, and she met them. David had just said, it's been useless, all my watching over this fellow's property in the wilderness so that nothing of his was missing. He has paid me back evil for good. May God deal with David, be it so ever severely, if by morning I leave alive one male of all who belong to him. And I'll stop there. So let me give you guys some context. So in the Bible, the story of David and Nabal, where it references sharing, right? Sharing, S-H-E-A-R-I-N-G. Sharing refers to the process of cutting wool from Nabal's sheep, which was a significant event in agricultural calendar. It was a significant, during these times, that was significant. You had to share the sheep, you had to get the wool, because that's how people made their money. And Nabal was wealthy because he had a lot of sheep, and this was a season of sharing. So wealthy landowners like Nabal typically had an abundance of sheep, and that's how they made their money. And their sheep had to be protected because, people probably were stealing during those times. So wealthy men like Nabal had people protecting his sheep. So David and his men were guarding Nabal's sheep. So the whole time, of course, he didn't ask them to do it, but we know that sheep was a sign of wealth. That was profitable for people during that time. So David and his men spent time guarding these sheep. So David's men had been guarding these sheep while David was running away from King Saul. So essentially, David's protection of Nabal's sheep is linked to the time of sharing, where he expected some form of a reward for his service. So that's why David sent his men like, hey, let him know that I've been protecting his sheep, me and my men. We are starving because we've been out in the wilderness. I know that I'm about to find favor from him. I know that he's about to send us some food and some water because I've been guarding his sheep, his most prized possession. I know that he'll send food for us. So when David sent his man to Nabal, I could be pronouncing it wrong, y'all. But when David sent his men to ask him like, hey, could you send us some food? And his response was like, nah, I don't know, David. Who's David? Who's Jesse's son? You know how many men say that they guard my sheep? I'm not giving him no food. I'm not doing that. Why would I do that? I don't know him like that. I didn't tell him to guard my sheep. So when David's men came back, David's like, okay, bet. I'm about to kill everybody in his kingdom. Everybody's getting slaughtered. That's why he said, be it so severely, God, punish me if by morning there's a man left alive in that kingdom. And Abigail, having enough grace, having enough wisdom, knew of David, I'm sure, because as we know, David slain Goliath. David was the man that defeated a giant. David was a great warrior. So Abigail heard the news and she was like, oh, heck no. Like, I have to save my kingdom. I have to save my husband. I have to save my children. I have to save my family. So though her husband was arrogant, this is why I say Abigail is an unsung hero. She knew who David was, and she knew what rage was about to come to her kingdom. So she hurried up, gathered the food that she could, as it said in the word. She gathered raisin cakes, fig cakes, whatever those are. She gathered meat so she could meet David before David met her kingdom. So as we see here, she was not equally yoked with her husband. She was wise, her husband was not. And I picked this particular story to talk about because we see how detrimental it could be if you are partnered with someone that is unequally yoked. What if Abigail did not have enough sense to run out and meet David? As we see, David was already marching towards that kingdom to kill everybody. And if you know David and you've read the stories in the Bible, David won every fight, I think, for the most part. Correct me if I'm wrong. But David, for one, was one of the best warriors that we've seen in the Bible, one of the best soldiers in the Bible. David did not take many losses. So Abigail was like, oh no, I got to meet him halfway before he gets to my kingdom. And I love that it said that she acted quickly. When you are in an unequally yoked relationship, you have to act quickly. It's a matter of life and death. Your life is on the line. Your kingdom's on the line. If you do not act quickly, you're doing yourself a disservice. You are doing yourself a disservice. So in 1 Samuel chapter 25, verses 20 to 31, when Abigail met David in the wilderness, she bowed down before him and asked him to accept the food she brought to him. She asked David to forgive her and her household, and please do not seek revenge. Despite Abigail not being in the wrong, she knew her husband was in the wrong. And she gracefully bowed down to David, like, please accept this apology on behalf of my household. Though my husband is foolish, please accept this and do not seek revenge on us, because I know what you are capable of. She bowed down before David. She acted quickly. In 1 Samuel chapter 25, verses 32 to 33, David responds to Abigail and he says, "Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, who has sent you to me today. May you be blessed for your good judgment and for keeping me from bloodshed this day, and for keeping me from avenging myself with my own hands." David thanked her because not only was David and his men hungry, right? But he thanked her because she caught him before he had the ability to sin. Because he was angry. He wasn't going to kill Nabal and try to slay the entire kingdom because they were waging war against each other. David felt tried. He felt disrespected. Like when I read that verse, he was like, "Be it God deal with me so severely if I do not leave one living person in that." I was like, geez, he was mad. He said, "Be it so severely," like God punish me if I don't kill everyone in that kingdom. I was like, oh, he was really mad. But I see his perspective. Like, just imagine you are doing so much for someone, though they didn't ask you to. You're like, oh my gosh, these are his sheep. These are his prized possession. Let me protect these sheep because I know that this is worth a lot to him. And may he have favor on me and my men for doing so. We've been in the wilderness now. We're starving. We're hungry. I know that he's going to give me some food. And we've all experienced this. Like, have you ever gone out of your way for someone, went above and beyond? You are doing the most for someone, though they didn't ask you to. You're being a good person to someone. And when you ask for a favor of them, what's the number one thing they say? I didn't ask you to do that. I can't tell you how many people I've had. Well, I didn't ask you to do that, Jodie. You did that because you wanted to do that. You be doing so much nice stuff. I didn't tell you to do that. You did that because you wanted to. Then it's like, Okay, bet. Be it so severely. But I feel where David's coming from because we've all experienced that. But thank God for women and men that have the character traits of Abigail. Women and men that could see beyond themselves and know, hey, I am with someone that I'm not equally yoked with. And I'm going to have to go before them with grace, with wisdom, because I'm with someone that has no sense at all. And when you're with someone that you're not equally yoked with, y'all, and read the story for yourself. Again, it's 1 Samuel, read chapter 25. When you're with someone that you're unequally yoked with, they're going to lead you to destruction. You're going to have to fight. You're going to have to go through things that God didn't want you to go through. If Abigail would have picked someone better, she wouldn't have had to do that. And a lot of times we are in relationships that we want, but that are not of God's will. And I could be honest enough and humble enough to say every relationship that I've been in was because of my wants, and it wasn't God's will. Now, thank God that we have a merciful, gracious, forgiving Father, that though we've all been in relationships that were not of his will, we still were given the privilege to learn a lesson. We were still given the opportunity to be blessed with children, to maybe be blessed with a marriage that maybe only lasted 10 years. You might have divorced, but we have been given the privilege to learn. We have been given the privilege to become. We have been given the privilege to know what we do want and know what we don't want. But thank God for wisdom, and thank God for grace, and thank God for people that have character traits like Abigail. So if you are in a relationship where you are unequally yoked, you are going to find yourself constantly having to go to bat for this other person's actions. Hey, I'm sorry for what they did. They didn't mean it. They didn't mean it. They didn't mean it. They didn't mean it. Please accept this as my offering. Please do not seek revenge. Please don't, come back and attack my kingdom. But how often and how many times are you going to do that? Because you're going to get tired of constantly having to gather things up to seek forgiveness from someone on account of your partner, right? How many times are you going to do that? Because after a while, people are not going to accept your sorry on behalf of your partner. How many of us have been to, let's just say, for example, maybe a family barbecue or a cookout, and you see someone there with their spouse, and their spouse literally ruins it for everyone. They get too drunk. They're knocking over things. They're in the lawn fighting in the grass. And it's like, man, don't bring your wife back. Don't bring your husband back. Do not bring Uncle Tom back. How many times, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I won't bring them back. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We have to stop being sorry for our partners. We have to stop apologizing for the relationships that we choose. We have to stop apologizing for the friendships that we choose. And sometimes we have to stop apologizing for the companies that we represent. And we have to stop apologizing, and we have to remove ourselves from those situations. Luckily, in the word, Abigail only had to do that one time from what we know of, right? And soon after she did that, David really was in so awe of Abigail. Not only was she beautiful, not only was she intelligent, but she is one of the definitions of what it means to be a virtuous woman. She kept him from sinning against the Lord because he was angry and he was seeking revenge. That's why he thanked her and said, may you always be blessed for keeping me from getting blood on my hands. A few verses later, we'll see that Nabal ends up dying. And when David hears that he dies, David's like, okay, bet. Let me see what's up with Abigail. So he sends for her, and she actually ends up marrying David, who is one of the greatest kings we read about in the Bible. He's also one of the greatest soldiers in the Bible. David was a man after God's own heart. So, her husband ends up passing away, and luckily she didn't have to keep having to, speak for him, say sorry for him. But David was in so much awe of Abigail that he sought her hand in marriage after that. Because he's like, man, this is a virtuous woman. Not only did she keep me from sinning against God, but she understands what it means to protect her household. She understands what it means to be graceful. She understands what it means to be someone that knows how to lead. So definitely take the time to read that story for yourself. And I think it goes hand in hand with what we're discussing earlier. Some people are in these relationships that they're being abused. And it doesn't always only have to be physically. Some of us have been abused mentally. And that's not right either. You're, in these relationships and you're being beat down so much that when you get out of it, you feel so damaged. You feel so used. Your self-esteem is so low. And this is for men and women. Sometimes we don't value ourselves, so we will accept any relationship that comes our way because we just want to be with someone so bad. But I want to say this, the only person that you need to be with so bad is God. The same way that you run back to those relationships, run back to your relationship with God. Run back. God's not going to beat you up. Run back to that relationship. God's not going to hurt you. We have to stop running back to the places that have almost killed us. We have to stop running back to the places where there's trauma there. We can't continue to be unequally yoked in these relationships. We can't continue to say sorry. We can't continue to say sorry. My mom, now that I'm older, it's kind of just a beautiful space to be in because now that I'm an adult, she tells me about her life stories. And she was telling me a story a few months ago where she was at a party. And I won't mention the person who she was at the party with because I do want to protect him. And I do believe people can change. And I do believe, that's who he was at that time frame. But have you ever heard of the term? She was like, have you ever heard of the term someone slapping the piss out of you? And I'm like, yeah, She was like, this man slapped the piss out of me. They were at a formal party and my mom said he slapped her so hard, his handprint was on her face and she literally peed herself at the party. And she was like, I was so embarrassed. And the situation was a man was talking to her, just being friendly. You're at a party. And she was like, it wasn't anything romantic. But, her partner saw her from across the room, went over there and literally slapped her so loud. It's like, she was like, the room stopped. The room stopped. How many of you have experienced that embarrassment, that hurt, that shame? Literally slapped the piss out of her. And she had went back. And I even remember as a child them constantly fighting, me experiencing and seeing that abuse. And a lot of children do see that abuse, but we also have to get tired of having our children experience the toxic relationships that we have allowed ourselves to be in, because it's not fair to the child either. It's not fair. We bring these children in the world. We should want the best experience for them. And I hope that this is triggering for some of you that are listening, because there's someone that's out here listening. You might be in this abusive relationship, male or female. Someone might have slapped the piss out of you. Someone might have embarrassed you in front of your friends, your family, at work, pulling up to your job, trying to fight you. It's not worth it. I always say peace is priceless. And I don't fool with people. You have one time to show me who you really are. And I can't fool with you again. I wish you well. I'll pray for you. But we have to stop giving people chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. One time is enough. One time is enough. Someone hits you, one time is enough. We can't change anyone that doesn't want to change. We can't help anyone that doesn't want the help. We can't save anyone that does not want to be saved. Just don't save him. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Get out of the relationship before it leads to your destruction. I don't want your family to cry over you like my family has had to cry over my cousin and countless others. The time is now. The time is now. The time is now. There's a lot of many great resources. I will add some of them into this podcast description. But again, I'm not making this stuff up. This is not coming off the top of my head. Literally reference the Bible for yourself. It's in the Word. Being with a quarrelsome partner, it's better for you to be in the desert. It's better for you to starve. It's better for you to thirst than to be around someone that's quarrelsome. Being unequally yoked can lead to the destruction of your kingdom. You're sacrificing your mind. So don't do it. Don't do it. And I want to pray for any of you that might be listening, that might be in an abusive relationship. Dear God, we just thank you for everyone that's listening today, dear God. And I just pray for, even if it's just one person that might be experiencing abuse in their relationship, dear God. We know that you are a miracle worker. We know that you are a grace giver. We know that you are a mercy giver, dear God. And we know that you give us strength, dear God. Give whoever is listening to this podcast, if they're in an abusive relationship, give them the strength to leave, God. Randomly, just wake them up, dear God. Give them the strength. Give them the strength, dear God. Let something just be uprooted in them to where they know that they cannot be in this relationship, dear God. Let them have the courage to leave the relationship, dear God. And I pray that all of their family, all of their friends rally behind them to support them as they leave that toxic relationship, as they run from that toxic relationship and run towards you. I pray that they have the courage. I pray that they have the strength. I pray that they have the wisdom to do what is best for them. And I pray that they have the courage to love themselves enough to leave. I also pray for the family and the friends of a loved one that might be being abused. I pray that that family also has the courage to help until they cannot help anymore. I pray that they have the courage to keep intervening until they see their loved one free from that toxic relationship, dear God. I also pray for protection from anyone that's being abused. I pray for protection, that they are not abused, that their life is not lost. I pray that they are covered from the top of their head to the bottom of their feet. I pray that they are lifted immediately out of that situation. Expeditiously, God, just pull them from those relationships. Pull them from those relationships that are causing them to have low self-esteem. Pull them from those relationships that are disrupting their peace. Pull them from those relationships that are taking them from the most important relationship in their life, which we know is a relationship with you. I pray that their self-esteem is raised. I pray that life goes back into their lungs, into their heart, into their body, into their mind. I pray that when they look in the mirror, that they see what you see. I pray they see what you see. Because oftentimes when people are in these relationships, they don't see themselves how you see them. I pray that they see themselves as children of you. I pray that they see themselves as beautiful beings. I pray that they see themselves as people that are here with purpose, for a purpose and on purpose. You sent them here with reason, and you did not send them here to be abused. You sent them here to be loved because you are loved. So I pray for freedom, dear God, for all of these people that might be being abused. I pray that they receive freedom, peace in their mind and peace in their hearts. And I pray that miraculously that they have the courage to leave and the support that they need to leave. I pray that they listen to this and they just jump up and say, today is the last day where I am abused, whether they have to go live in a shelter, go back and live with their mom, live with their friends, sleep on a couch. I pray that they have the courage to leave, and I pray that the right advocates surround them, find them, and follow them so they will have the courage to leave and they don't have to have a story that's cut short. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. 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 I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. it was on my heart to talk about that because, like I said, yesterday was the day that my family finally got justice. It was a beautiful day, but it was a sad day, and we will be healing. Not only am I praying for my family, I'm also praying for her family. Because just as we suffered a loss, I know that her family has also suffered a loss as they will be without her, their loved one, be without her for the next 20 years of her life. So when we make careless decisions, not only do we suffer, whether you're living or whether, the abuse has taken your life, not only did you suffer, not only will you suffer, but so will your family. Tremendously, tremendously, tremendously. So I pray that you all help someone that you might know that's struggling. I pray that you get the help that you need as well, but it's not worth it, y'all. It's not worth it. And I know when I close an episode out, I always ask my guests, I always ask them to finish the statement, I am, I can, I will, God is, and love is. So I'm going to do that for myself. So I am changing. I can create new versions of myself every day and in every way. I will be a fisher of men. I will spread the gospel in the best way that I know how. I always say I'm learning along with all of you guys. I never claim to be a teacher. I'm also a student. So it's like, as I learn, I want to share the things that I'm learning with you guys. But I will change. I will be a fisher of men. And I hope that I will lead many people back to the light and back to God. I will pull heartstrings. I believe that love is infinite. I believe that love is the most powerful thing that we have in this earth. I believe that love is the greatest gift that we could not only give ourselves, but to give to other people. Even if it's a stranger, like, try it this week, y'all. Let's all try it this week. I challenge you to give love to someone. Whether it is a stranger, holding the door open for them and saying, oh my God, you look amazing today. Whether it's a man, like, oh, you got a really nice smile. Whether you come across a senior sitting in the park with themselves, like, hey, I hope you have a blessed day. Let's give love to people this week because we know now more than ever we need it, especially as we're getting into this election season. We need to give love to as many people as we possibly can. We need to be praying over this election. We need to be praying for America. Regardless of who wins, we need prayer, we need love, we need peace, and we need to be praying over whatever candidate that wins. I do say vote for the lesser of two evils, but we need love, not only in America, but in the world. And I do believe that love is the greatest gift. Love could cure everything. Love could light up someone that's been living in darkness, and that's all it takes is love. So I do believe that love is this infinite energy where if we allow it out of the container, it literally could just permeate everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Love could literally go into every crack, every crevice if we just allow it to be opened up. So open your love container this week. I will do the same. And to close it out, I believe that God is also infinite. I do believe God is everything. I don't think God is a he, a she. I think God is just too big to be defined. And we're all this big puzzle, and we're all little pieces of God, right? And there's this big picture, and we're all little pieces that are in this picture of God. But sometimes some of us forget that we are a puzzle piece, and we get so beaten down in life, we get such low self-esteem, we get so depressed, we get so anxious that we forget that we are also a piece in God's puzzle. We're a piece in this big picture of God. And God to me is just too big to be defined. And I don't think I'd ever want to insult God to try to define God as, oh, God is love. God is this. God is bigger than whatever we could imagine. For us all to be here, just even thinking about the intricacies of how we could blink our eyes, how we could breathe, how there's cells in our body, how these cells have nucleus, how these cells, like just to even think about that, if we ever sat and think about how we are walking miracles, I think we'd probably go crazy thinking about the goodness of God. And that's why I always say blessings are not things. Blessings are not a car. Blessings are not jobs. Blessings are not material things. Blessings are not being pretty. Blessings are not, oh, I got this house. Blessings are, oh my God, I could blink my eyes. Blessings are, oh my God, I have a relationship with the Lord. Blessings are, God has favor on my life. God has been merciful to me. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. But God is undefinable. That's what I'll say. That's who God is to me. God is undefinable. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it wasn't too heavy for y'all, but it has to be said. It has to be said. And I don't ever want to be someone that sugarcoats or, makes the words seem like bubblegum and gumdrops, because the Bible is not always pretty. Life is not always pretty. This is real stuff. And send this to someone that you might know that might be experiencing abuse in any way, shape, or form. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for listening. I see that we're getting more subscribers on YouTube. So guys, please listen, like, share, and subscribe. Please share with a friend. We are out here just trying to spread the light, trying to be fishers of men. But I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I hope you guys have a blessed week. Remember, our challenge this week is to open up that love container. Let it get out in the air. Let it get out in the atmosphere. Spread love, spread light. And until next time, I appreciate you guys. I'm Jodie Smith, and this is the Heart Helper Podcast.